I just got finished interviewing Brazilian horn performer and composer Victor Prado, and I know that you're going to enjoy this interview to come. This is our holiday issue in December, and in that spirit, Victor was generous enough to give us a little holiday treat. So if you will go all the way to the end of this interview or stay tuned to the end of the interview, you will see a link that you can screenshot, and that link will take you to the holiday present from Victor Prado. Happy holidays, everybody, and enjoy the interview. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Angela Winter with Horn and More, and I am so excited to be here with Victor Prado, Brazilian horn performer and artist. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you, Angela, for inviting me. I'm very happy and very excited for this interview.
So I met you briefly 2 years ago in Montreal, and I heard you play, and I just thought, who is this? And I couldn't wait to get to know you a little bit better. I imagine many of our listeners don't may know you, but many might not. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. It's very funny because in Montreal, a lot of horn players like didn't know about me, uh, or like who is this guy playing jazz? Another guy from Brazil, not from United States or Europe. I'm Victor Prado. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil, and I play the French horn since I was like 15 or 14. And nowadays I play more improvisation music, jazz music, Brazilian popular music like samba, maracatu, but everything with jazz elements like improvisation or blues inside is what I do.
So when we think of horn, I think it's our many of us have roots in classical music. We're sort of bound in classical music. And I have only heard you play as a jazz artist, and it's phenomenal. And it feels like your first language on the instrument, which is so special. Was horn your first instrument, or did you start being a musician at 15 with some other medium?
My first instrument was the clarinet, but I just played the clarinet for 3 months or 4 months or something. After that, I started to play the trumpet. So I went to the conservatory in São Paulo and I studied there for a year. It was funny because I was 14 and I remember that I wanted to play jazz at that time, but I couldn't because I was very young. And I mean, I was 14 and I had to understand that I had to practice the classical music first. But at that time, I was like, no, I want to play jazz. So I quit the conservatory and the trumpet, like forever. I don't want to play classical music, blah, blah, blah. And then someday a friend of mine, he's a trombone player, he asked me, oh, do you like the French horn? And I was like, oh, maybe, yes, it's a beautiful instrument, but and he said, oh, because I am the another call and they need for horn players, and you get a horn and a scholarship all for free. They just need people to play the horn. And I said, okay, going to play the horn then. So I went to the conservatory to audition, and I remember I played C major scale on French horn for the first time, and the horn teacher was James Yamauchi, and he said, "Oh, fantastic! You already play the horn. It's it's close to the trumpet, like the position. So let's get started." Okay, but it was an actual thing for me because that school, that conservatory was like special because there we used to play and learn a lot of Brazilian music popular music and jazz as well. But when I started to learn the French horn, was totally classical, totally classical music, Mozart and Couperin, everything. And then I went to the another conservatory in São Paulo, one of the most important conservatories here, uh, to study classical horn again. So I studied both at the same time, and I stayed there for 6 years and 5 years in the first conservatory. So it was like 11 years just playing, just studying, practicing the classical music, classical repertoire, Mozart and Strauss and all that stuff. But I remember I always used to listen to music, to jazz, since I was 13, because I thought it was very magic. Like how how does that guys play without scores, without charts, without how? It was very special for me, like watching this and then I started to by myself to try to improvise, like just watching people playing and try to copy or just try to play by myself, or playing notes, playing whatever notes I want to play. Uh, that's how I started to play the horn.
I think that's so interesting because you started actually on trumpet, which I think we think of as a jazz instrument, but you were able to sort of be a jazz artist through horn, just sort of by a turn of
Yeah.
by fate, sort of. That's so interesting.
As I used to say that it doesn't matter the instrument. I could do or the violin, piano, it doesn't matter because what matters for me is the music, is the expression that I can do through my instrument, but it could be another instrument. Luckily, it's the French horn.
Lucky for all of us too, so we get to hear you play. You know, the what you described with your studies at the conservatory, learning Mozart and Koprash, I think that's how most of us grew up, or we grew up in a public school system, or then we go to university and we learned the sort of our classical roots as a horn player. And it sounds like you had that experience as well, but that your interests from the very beginning were jazz. Um, I know speaking for myself, and I think that there's a lot of people like me, we're intimidated by improvisation. And we maybe love jazz, but we're a little bit intimidated that how do we get started? So, could you offer some advice? Like, how would someone that plays the instrument, sort of, how would they begin dipping a toe into the world of jazz in terms of performing?
I think the easiest way for all instrumentalists and horn players is listen to music first. It's for real. It's like 50% of all the thing. You have to listen to music, and and then when you go to listen again, listen different. Listen, paying attention on the instrumentation, the phrases, the scales, and then we can. I started to improvise with Lester Young, the saxophone player. I used to put Lester Young playing ballads, and I started to just to play a couple of notes with Lester Young, and then I stop, and then I keep playing some notes, and then. But I did this for years, and then I started to do the same thing with Chet Baker, and then uh, with Dizzy Gillespie, and was addicted. I mean, I used to play this kind of music every day. If I had to practice my Mozart, my Couperin, my Maximilian Falls, or straws or whatever, throw straws. I always had my time to improvise, and I think that I always say for my students is when you go to play a scale, major scale, minor scale, put some notes, add some notes there. Like I used to practice my scales in different ways. Instead of to playing just I can play or I mean I can add notes. Nobody wants to tell that you are wrong, like it's just playing. And I always used to to try. I always try to be free by playing. Always even before I take classes, improvisation classes with my teachers in Brazil. I remember when I went to take my first improvisation class, I played something for my. He was a saxophone player. He was looking and listened to my improvisation. He asked me, "Oh, who are your teacher, improvisation teacher?" No, nobody. Just play. It was like, wow, because you were doing well inside the progressions, harmonic progressions, but I had no idea. I had no idea. I just played, you know. And I think the most important thing is start. And if you have to copy, it's okay. It's okay because after that, you will develop your own language.
So starting with listening, and then you had sort of almost absorbed who you were listening to.
Yes. First, you have to listen to music and try to play. And then, little by little, you will develop your language, your scales, how to use scales, how to use harmony and arpeggios. And, it's a long process.
I think that's another thing that strikes me about what you said was just changing. It almost feels like having permission to play a major scale, but add a few notes.
Yes.
We're so told that's wrong. Sort of just having permission to experiment and play and not be right all the time.
Yes, you have to go through the process I call desbloqueio, like unblock our minds, because we are always like, oh, I have to play like this, scales are like this, or arpeggios are like this, my sound have to be big or straight or hard. No, no, you're free. The instrument is like an extension from your body.
Are there any standard performers that you think would be great beginning people to listen and model yourself after?
I wouldn't say artist, but I would say like it's very good, very useful if you can start with ballads, and small jazz standards like uh, Cherokee or any ballad, any ballad. Listen to Chet Baker. Chet Baker's great for hard players. It's great. It's perfect. And Lester Young, if we don't listen to some beautiful ballads, all those saxophone players, Dexter Gordon, Stan Getz, or trombone players too, like J.J. Johnson, and the horn players, of course, Joe Clark, Vincent Chansey, and Julius Watkins, David Amaro, all those guys.
Tell us a little bit about, because you do so much. You perform and you record and you also compose. So tell us a little bit about what projects you're working on currently or projects that you're really excited about that are upcoming.
Yes, now my project is upcoming an album, a new album, because I didn't record an album. I recorded with a lot of art, playing jazz or improvisation stuff, but I didn't record my big album. And intend to release next year. And yes, I'm also a composer, even though I have some difficulty to say that I'm a composer because I didn't went to school to composition, but I love to compose. I always loved to compose, to try. And since I was a teenager, 14 or 15, I used to try to compose little tunes or because I think it's part of the improvisation thing too. It's part of being free, right, to play whatever you want to play. And next year I will be at jazz as well, probably play another composition or something. And I used to compose for my own group, quartet, quintet, sometimes for strings quartet too, um, for small ensembles in Brazil. And I love to compose. But I mean, my I used to say that I'm almost a composer.
Well, I bet I think I saw I think it was in Montreal. It was your work with a horn quartet. Am I right about that? Oh, and you there was a work for horn quartet that you
Mhm.
wrote.
Hard quartet or it was the Corno maybe
Maybe. Well,
or
my question is if
or with the big band
yeah, for those of us that
because I
might want to
compose.
find some of the works that you've written, if we would like to try to play those ourselves or play those with ensembles, is there a place that you could tell us where we could find that music?
Yes, actually, I this year, I as I said, I'm learning how to be a composer. So I used to compose and not publish, but now I this year I'm publishing all my compositions. So soon it would be available on the website or whatever. All the compositions, small tunes, large ensembles.
That's exciting. So next, that sounds like some big things coming up. You're going to release an album, and
Yes,
we will quickly soon be able to have access to some of your publications. I know I'm looking for.
yes.
So in the meantime, while we're waiting, how can we connect with you so that we can sort of stay up to date when these things do become available and released? How can we find you?
Yes, I'm more now on Instagram. It's my main social media. I'm on Facebook as well, but I used to put all the dates or my things on Instagram.
Great. We'll be sure to have your handle on the on this interview as well, so we
Okay.
can connect with you via Instagram. Great. And you will be at IHS
Yes,
in this next summer, yes?
yes, of course.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Victor,
I
thank you
agree.
so much. Thank you for your time. I'm excited to have access to your publications and I can't wait for your recording. And I know I follow you on Instagram and it's just, there's a lot of great playing and it's just a really wonderful page. So I know that some other people will reach out and find you that way as well. But thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a happy holiday in Sao Paulo.
Thanks for inviting and hope to see you soon and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well. And happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy holidays.